Well, hello again. Welcome. I'm looking forward to today's session. And just before I get started, if you could give me a thumbs up in the chat, let's make sure we are working, everything is connected. And yeah, let me know where you're from and if this is working well. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter where you are, we are going live momentarily and talking about the Leadership Intelligence program and giving you a lot of tools and insights today on this topic as we go into the book launch coming up um, at the end of the month. So watch for that. And we are now into part 3 of the book. So if you haven't been following, do connect on the BIQ.org website and events, and you can access all the material that's there. If you can't find that, reach out to us. Let me share that here so that you can reach me or reach the team. Okay, looks like they've changed the colors on that. Sorry, I hope you can read that. Okay, it's biqorg.com events /events or Nagui at biqorg.com. Great. All right. Well, let's get going. So here I am. We will get started. Thank you, those that have given me a thumbs up. Welcome. So here we have, in this series, we'll be talking about the culture, the behavior, diving more into, let's get my clicker working. Okay. So part 1, we talked about the invisible drivers. Part 2, what you see versus what's factual. And now into part 3, we'll go through leading through behavior. And today's session is about practical situations. The old phrase, walk the talk. This is really what today is about. So we're going to just touch on a few things. It's very clear, obvious what the intent of today's session is. So it should be easy for people to follow along with that. Your behavior is the message your team receives. So it doesn't matter what you say, walk the walk, talk the talk is not enough. It's walk the talk, right? So you want to portray what you are saying as a message. So teams will watch what you do, not what you say. Okay. Instructions without modeling breeds immediate distrust. So you've got to watch how you portray your message, not just in words. Those micro behaviors are critical in how you are perceived and how things get transferred. And next week we'll talk more on the culture impact in an organization. So, number 1, your behavior sets the tone. So a team will calibrate to how you conduct yourself, not what you say, but what you do. If in meetings you arrive late, what message is that sending to the team? When you're sending signals about the norms, what's acceptable, what's not, are you actually doing the same things that you are saying that they should be doing, right? This is obvious stuff, right? Do you check emails in the meeting? Are you checking your phone? Are you distracted? Why is it okay for you to do that and not for them? So play by the rules and portray what you want to have happen in your organization. So be the mirror, if you like, be the benchmark, the bar that is being followed in your organization, so that people then respect that, they trust that, and you get the culture aligned to you. All right. So if you're going to track patterns, right, then make sure that you too are compliant within those patterns. Right? If it's about eye contact, all of those things that you are portraying to the team, you need to follow yourself. Okay. So if you are going to track completion results, I just went through that with some clients I was working with, and what I was asking them to do is the same thing that I would do myself. And really, as a coach, sometimes we get aha moments when we ask somebody to do something and realize that, I'm not doing that, maybe I should be doing that. So it works also the other way around. If you listen to yourself, you will learn a lot more about your own awareness and your own growth. Okay, your tone. Okay, if we talk about the neuroscience, we introduced the mirror neurons. They are observing your behaviors and they are mirroring to some extent what you are doing. So it's unconscious. It happens without realization. And if you are anxious, it's contagious. We talk about that in the training and the course, and you become the thermostat, not the thermometer. Measuring other people is really going to be a reflection of what you do. So behave according to how you want the team to behave. Okay. So instructing without modeling creates distrust. It's very important to do that. We were just talking about this earlier this week, where someone's body language didn't match what they were saying. They were trying to be something for the support of others. They were trying to be someone else for that person, just to be compliant, to be supportive. But the body language created a distrust because of the disconnect between what that person was actually thinking and doing that wasn't aligned with what they were saying that was showing up. So those things are really important. They're subtle. We had situations where I've had to work with people where the body language didn't match their passion that was inside between their ears, right? And so you need to have a congruence between your behavior and what you're saying. So, if you're preaching balance, then demonstrate that. If you are demanding accountability, then make sure that you don't blame and use excuses. Then be accountable yourself. If you're going to champion transparency, don't just make decisions behind closed doors, right? Be transparent, right? The team will see those gaps and they will follow based on what you do. So your modeling pledge, okay? Bridge words and action, right? So and make it public. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there by verbalizing something publicly. That's actually one of the greatest assets that you can bring. You vocalize it, you behave it, you demonstrate it. People believe you mean it, right? And when you don't do those things, then it comes across as, he'll forget about it tomorrow, or she'll forget about it the next day. We'll just go back to the way things were. You can ignore it. It's just a whim, right? Those are really subtle, important messages that you need to be aware of when you do that, right? Define the behaviors, write this down. Actually, it's a really good point there. Share it publicly, write it down, and follow through on all these things. Track it. Even more importantly, if you don't track it, how do you know it's actually happening? Track it for yourself and track it for others. Okay. Congruence, I talked about that. And the brain processes actions as more truthful signals. So, if the words don't align with the behavior, then the brain looks at those actions and looks at that in a trust and distrust, whether it's truthful. Okay. Repeat these things, misalignment, trust. All of these are foundational, and we touched on that a couple of weeks ago. The trust layer comes from that integrity, congruency, walking the talk, and actually participating at that level to create that consistency. Okay. Consistency, there it is. Okay. So if you are going to do these things, you need to apply a level of consistency to support that activity, that thinking pattern, that style, right? So don't try to do it all at once, but do it in quarters. Take quarter one and celebrate the congruency, the alignment with that, right? If your habits are misaligned, if you're chastising deviations, right? The team gets confused. Are we allowed to innovate? Are we not allowed to innovate? 1 week you say we are, and then when somebody does it, you chastise them. Those messages are going to send the wrong signals and undermine your intention. Okay, so track that recurring scenarios, missed deadlines, rate your response, create a response playbook. That's a good idea as well. Pre-write decision rules for predictable scenarios. All of these things, I know they're on the slide, but it's important to just think through those and apply those. Consistency compounds. Okay. Allows the team to participate, anticipate. When they can anticipate and predict your behavior because of your consistency, they become more relaxed, they become more comfortable. That it's the not control, but certainty, if you like. So they want to show up. They know what's going to happen. They don't get blindsided by things. And you got to understand that team members, not all are going to be innovators, movers and shakers, and they'll show up and they want to have a level of certainty, not understanding the level of appetite for change that is going to exist. So be sure to remember that. Okay. Next, the feedback is important. Okay, so Feedback reinforces things, so make sure that you use that appropriately. Don't just again, we've touched on a lot of these things in other sessions. Performance reviews shouldn't be just once a year. They should be regular feedback, so there's no surprise. It's actually congruent with the culture that you want to develop. So the team will expect you to also ask for their feedback about you, right? So it's not just one way. Do be open, transparent. What's the word I'm thinking of? Not credibility, but integrity. So be open and be congruent with what you are saying with that. Okay. It's not a one-way street, right? It's both ways. Make sure you use that properly. Reciprocity. There's a lot of information out there on reciprocity and the importance of that. It's a human trait. We want to reciprocate. And so when you do something for someone else, they'll feel like they're indebted to you and they will want to eventually reciprocate. So when you apply reciprocity within your organization, you start to feel the feedback and the trust, the relationship. Why would a boss be any different than the team members? Yes, you make different decisions, etc. You have different responsibilities, but at the end of the day, we all bleed red. Okay, we are all human, and I've talked about the allowing people to be human. There are certain pre-wired situation. We talk about the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala when we're in flight and fight mode. We can't think clearly. This is a human trait, right? So understanding the human psyche is important in order for you to recognize when that's working and when it's not working. So publicly acknowledge feedback is important so that it's not just done behind doors, right? Make sure it's part of the culture, okay? Talking about, what you saw, what you felt. We talked about that in the last part of the book. It's not just what you feel, but what you see that triggered that feeling, and how you respond to that, how you manage that feedback is critical. Okay. Vulnerability. We talk about reciprocity at different layers here. The public acknowledgement of honesty. If you're going to be honest and open and transparent, then it's going to create an environment where other people feel that way, right? If you don't do it, then why should they? So they're going to be hiding truth from you, okay? It's two ways, because you are human just like the rest of your team. The modeling under pressure is an interesting one. Sometimes you want to simulate a pressure situation in order to observe the behavior so that you can actually understand the natural response of how people react under pressure. And so that exposes some of our unconscious, subconscious behavior patterns. Okay, so it's easy to behave when things are running smooth, but under pressure, right, it reveals your true default behaviors, right? So losing composure, team will mirror your anxiety. They'll feel it, they'll sense it. You don't even have to say it; they can see it in you, right? So be careful of that, but understand that the crisis modeling is an important part of a strategy that you should practice and execute. So, pre-plan or pre-program, okay, your behavior under pressure. So you can practice that, and you can practice it with your team, and you can create those environments with your team in order for them to also learn to practice that. But if you don't use feedback to provide the feedback in order to improve the practice, poor practice just continues to get poor results, right? And so what we need to do is use that feedback in order to improve the practice under pressure. Okay, create some anchors, do some role play, right? All of these tools allow you to prepare for those situations. Okay, it matters because those moments will happen outside of your cultural impact. You don't have control over it. It's not part of your culture. It's usually externally driven. Okay, and under fire or ER, if you like, the way people respond in that situation is really an important message that you have to practice to develop the right behaviors, and through feedback, through transparency, being vulnerable yourself back to that, allowing yourself to say, hey, I didn't handle that situation very well. What did you think? What feedback can you give me, right? And then, others will then step up and say, hey, I know I didn't do that well either in that situation. What can you do to help me? So you develop this opportunity for getting everybody to row in the same direction, row together in timing. I was talking to a coach the other day who does competitive rowing as a team, right? And how critical it is to be focused and practicing that timing together to row in the same direction. It doesn't happen. You can't just put a team on a boat together and expect it to happen. There is feedback. There is interaction that needs to take place. There is the vulnerability that needs to exist to allow yourself to receive feedback, to say, hey, I want to improve. What can you do to help me improve? Those are the things that we are talking about. They are behaviors that people observe you practicing, and they become the culture of the organization. They become the foundation that you are building your business and your team on. Okay. So instruction then becomes inspiration. Behavior, when it's congruent, transforms compliance into commitment, and that is a huge shift. Those two C words, right? Compliance has to be managed, has to be directed, has to be constantly monitored, but commitment is a internally driven. So if you like, compliance is driven from outside. People comply to external pressures, but commitment comes from within, right? And so when somebody is committed, they are more likely to hit the deadlines, do things on time, show up on time, pay attention, be focused. Back to the rowing, be in tune with the rest of the team, be aligned, be observant of, when something or someone needs help and support, etc. You develop that through this relationship building, and empathy, is important. That's really what I call often allowing people to be human. Okay, maybe a bit too logical for some people, but empathy is commonly used out there. But we're all human. We're all going to have off days and good days and so on. So understanding that if somebody is having a difficult time at home, they might have a short fuse at the office. Okay. Having empathy and understanding what's going on allows you to then work together and help them leave that at home and not bring it to the office when possible. Okay. So pay attention to all of these cues. So when behavior matches the direction, the instructions, it's congruent. It's easy to see that this is actually how things are done. This is what we're expected to do. This is how we all behave, and people are committed. The accountability goes up, and you don't have to chase people because they're already on it. They're proactive as opposed to reactive, which is the compliance side of things versus commitment, right? People don't follow mandates, they follow models, right? So they model what they observe you doing. They are like a mirror, okay? And so actually, if you see the behavior not aligned with your expectations, you need to look in the mirror, okay? Maybe you are sending that message and they are just mirroring what they're observing you doing. So understand the criticalness of observing that response or what's happening and questioning your own drivers into that. What did you do to create that? Okay. Inspiration rises from when instructions are lived, right? Daily, hourly. Okay. Just checking what else there is there so we can keep on. So practical summary, right? Audit your micro behaviors, right? To set intentional tone. So your behaviors and your language must align. Bridge gaps with public modeling. So make it publicly aware, pledge it, follow it, track it. Okay. But remember to be human. Okay. No one's going to be on it 100% from day one. It takes practice. Track consistency. Create a response playbook that helps people to get rewarded or get feedback as opposed to focusing on consequences and blowing a fuse when things aren't going the way you would like. You need to look at the mirror and understand the mirroring effect that takes place. Okay. So your 7-day action plan, as usual, I'll leave you with a little bit of a workbook here. So day 1, day 2, run a audit. Okay, pick meetings, for example, and audit the behavior in the meeting. Launch a tracker to track that. So you're going to be able to observe that for a period of time. Maybe it's a simple thing as the distractions of the phone, or taking notes, or repeating back, whatever it is that you want to have take place. You need to practice it. And look, we do fall off the wagon a little bit, and humanity kicks in. You just need to understand that you can pick yourself up and get back on track. Okay. Get feedback. Define the behavior that you want to have in a crisis situation so that you can role play it, practice it, and prepare for it. All right. So a quick session today. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of questions, but as usual, I will be online watching for your questions and interacting with anyone who has anything they are struggling with. Next week, we'll dive into culture in motion because now we get into more of the group understanding, not just a one-on-one or top-down, but we get into the culture from a behavior perspective. November 12th, 10 a.m. Reserve your spot if you're not already connected with us and following these things. biqorg.com/events, and stay connected. If you haven't joined the BIQ network, do jump on there. A lot of these and other sessions that I run during the week are on the BIQ network, so they're not available publicly as these sessions. So you'll want to be a part of the network in order to take advantage of that. All right, so without further ado, I wish you a fantastic week and see you next week.